Today, there's a lot of discussion about sustainability in the food industry. A multitude of problems that the food industry has either caused or neglected in the past have become increasingly apparent. But luckily, there are projects trying to tackle these problems. For example, Eddie's Unverpackt, the first package-free shop in Mannheim. Or Dirk's Biokiste, an organic food delivery service and pioneer on this branch. Elia Tea Project, a social business project based in Heidelberg, marketing top-quality high-ground tea from Sri Lanka. Efficient, a social startup formed by students engaged in Enactus Mannheim with a new approach to aquaponics. All of these projects have very promising approaches. But have they also been reaching their social and environmental goals? And by what means do they actually verify that they really have a lasting impact on society? Oftentimes, the question is hard to answer, which is the reason that impact measurement is becoming more and more important for social entrepreneurs. To find out how impact-oriented the 4 previously presented projects are working and how sophisticated their impact measurement is, we conducted several interviews and also asked 2 experts to their opinion on the current state of impact measurement. We started by visiting Eddie's, a package-free shop founded by Eddie Justus in March 2018. Sustainable, green, eco-friendly and plastic-free, the products have to fulfill specific criteria and conditions. Eddie's aims to enable a so-called less waste, minimalist and low-impact lifestyle for individuals and also hopes to spread awareness on the topic in the area. But is Eddie's actually achieving these aims?
For me, impact would be to see that, first of all, the number of customers increases. So I know, okay, this topic, avoiding packaging, is being accepted by the people. So they have getting it into their daily routine. And this would be for me the first measurement to see, okay, I'm successful, the success is rising. On the other hand, I would say if it's possible somehow to get the feedback from the customers to see how much of their food are they buying package free. For example, are they buying their food for 50% still at the supermarket, which is most of the time packed in the packaging, or do they come to our shop or going to the farmer's market and shop there? So for me, this would be like a measurement which could somehow lead to something that make me aware, am I successful or not?
The interview showed us that, at the moment, Eddie's mostly relies on qualitative feedback from customers instead of quantitative impact measurement to examine and improve the social impact the small packet-free shop aspires to have. That might be a valid approach for a small, newly founded business. But what about medium-sized social enterprises like Dirk's Biokiste? Dirk Agena, founder and owner of the organic food delivery service Dirk's Biokiste, conducts his business since 1995. In his efforts to give the best possible service to consumers, he's pursuing both social and ecological goals. Advancing organic farming, improving treatment of the soil, animals and plants, offering regional products and only using short hauls are his main objectives. He is covering a wide range of problems with these ambitious goals. Is impact measurement a tool he uses to keep track of them?
Ich muss ehrlich sagen, dass ich mich mit dem Begriff eigentlich noch nie so richtig beschäftigt habe. So. Also sagen wir mal, in der Firma gibt es halt das, was man Controlling nennt. Ne? Und das wäre jetzt halt sozusagen Zahlen und stimmt das wirklich? Und, so, und das natürlich, wir sind ja ein biokontrollierter Betrieb und da ist es natürlich schon so, dass man sich mit solchen Sachen beschäftigen muss. Also ich kann nicht 120 Kilo Möhren verkaufen, wenn ich nur 50 eingekauft habe. Wirkungsmessung in dem Sinne, dass man jetzt Also wenn man ein Instrument einsetzt sozusagen, dass man dann nachher wirklich weiß, wie viel weniger oder wie viel mehr man von irgendwas gehabt hat, das ist total schwierig. Das ist mehr Ideologie in dem Fall. Ich bin auch noch organisiert im Verband Ökokiste. Wir haben eine sehr spezifische Zertifizierung, wo wir halt jetzt unter anderem auch diesen CO2-Fußabdruck machen und das nächste Ziel, was ich leider noch nicht geschafft habe, ist eben die Allgemeinwohlbilanz, die Gemeinwohlbilanz. Wir haben sehr kurze Transportwege, also wir haben halt 1,8 Kilometer pro Kunde mit allen Anfahrten, mit allem. Das schafft niemand zum Supermarkt hin und her oder fast niemand, außer es fährt wirklich. Und wir haben halt, das liegt halt daran, dass die wirklich sehr dicht sind, die Touren. Und wir liefern Teil mit dem Lieferfahrrad aus. Das ist allerdings jetzt tatsächlich von der Technik her ist jetzt ziemlich genau ein Jahr in Betrieb.
So far, the Exbiokiste seems to be focusing on external certification rather than developing a form of direct impact measurement. Nonetheless, inside the Exbiokiste, there is to be noted a remarkable awareness of not only the environmental, but also the social impact the organic food business has on its surroundings. We continued our search by asking Manuel Kreitmeier to talk about the strategies he's using to measure social impact in the project he founded in 2015. LAT project. In his project, a higher percentage of the proceeds goes to the local producers, advancing the development of a platform where farmers from Sri Lanka can directly sell their tea. Thereby, it improves the living conditions of the farm owners as well as their workers, who can be given higher wages. LAT project especially supports the local farms in marketing the tea without intermediary agents, and, on top of this, is engaged in the conservation of the rainforest. The global scope of the project necessitates tools to track the operations. Is social impact measurement one of those tools?
So one of the KPIs we are having is that the farmers that we reached and the impact we had on the more earnings that these farmers had. So we have identified that we can tackle around 80% of the social problems in Sri Lanka by doubling the minimum wage. So we're trying to find out what is our contribution in the raise of their wages. And the third important KPI that we are measuring is that what is the improvement of the square meters of rainforest that we can help to preserve. So this we are doing with local NGOs. And what we would like to do is, of course, a survey with the people and to find out how we could improve their well-being when working with us, and maybe also have the same survey with a control group of an estate which is not included in our whole project, but this is something we want to do in the future. We are not quite there yet. What we have identified when we talk with them repeatedly is that their first wish is to just have a fair share of the profit, have a good earning, being able to provide for their families, and that we have realized that people actually are not very keen in receiving charity. People are more happy if they are having the feeling that they earned what they get and that they are getting a salary or income from what they can spend a good living. So this is actually one of the first ideas we had. Especially in the beginning, it's very hard, and I think it takes also a lot of discipline to measure your impact. If you are yourself very certain that you have a good impact, that's also mostly otherwise you wouldn't work on this subject. So I think this is a problem also, and it's also a problem with us that we have to specifically use our limited resources in impact measurement, and sometimes you have to just convince yourself that it's viable also, that you have to measure your impact. So this is definitely something we would like to do. We don't do it in the moment. Also, we would like to involve all stakeholders along the whole supply chain in the question how we want to use our profit, or how we want to use the part of the profit that we are donating. So this should not be a decision only we are taking, and in the moment we are involving our producers very much, but I agree with you, we would really like to involve our customers as well, and also for them to have a more realistic experience of what they can be a part of by changing their consumption and what kind of impact this has. So we're working on concepts, but in the moment we haven't implemented any, and we're still looking in best practice examples of other people doing that. But in the moment, I think a lot of people working on it, but we haven't found the perfect model for us yet. The whole social startup scene, or also social impact startup scene in Germany is, in my opinion, quite behind if you compare it with the UK or USA. So actually, when we are looking for role models, we are more looking in abroad than in Germany, have to say.
As a social business that promotes fair, social, and sustainable trade, Eliati Project considers social impact measurement an essential tool to value how effective they are in reaching their social and environmental goals for internal purposes and to meet sophisticated customer demands. However, Eliati still has to address some challenges, as for example the lack of a control group, as well as limited resources to measure the large-scale social impact. Improving nutrition, enabling development. These are the basic principles of Efficient, the fourth project we met. The social startup was founded by Enactus Mannheim, an initiative by students to build up social entrepreneurship projects. They started in 2016 with the goal to combat malnutrition by using a technology called aquaponics, a farming technique which combines fish and plant cultivations in one closed water cycle. Fish produce waste, which is then pumped to the plants, which absorb the waste, working as a nutrient supplier. In that process, the water is cleaned and then pumped back to the fish. Thus, aquaponics constitutes an alternative model to traditional agriculture using less soil and significantly less water. And in addition to that, enables humans in barren rural areas to enjoy an uncontaminated, nutritious diet for a self-determined functioning body. We talked with Simon Simonowski and Alexander Perkebner, representatives of Efficient, about the social business concept and what kind of social impact measurement tools they are using.
When talking about defining impact measurement, we would define impact is the outcome that we can reach upon regular development. So you always need to compare the development of an individual or a village compared to the individual and the village without treatment. So, and that difference that we can reach between regular development and our treatment, this difference is what we are defining as impact. And at Efficient, this impact is of course measured in terms of nutrition and how the people who are benefiting from the vegetables from our aquaponics system are developing. Are they do they have an increased well-being? Do the children develop and grow in a more sustainable way, and do they go regularly to school? Can they concentrate even more? These are things that we want to control and that we measure. So far, the impact measurement that we're doing is always in close cooperation with our social partner on site. So, for example, in Indonesia, on Lombok, we are working with an organization that provides help for children in the afternoon after school. And there we have built up our aquaponics system, and the impact measurement works as follows. We have our team on site, and they are doing regular, I would say, surveys, controls, with the children who are eating the vegetables from our system. They're controlling the size of their arms, the size of their feet, and they're controlling diseases, and they're actually also controlling the size of their head. And these are the data that we're collecting. The outcome of these surveys, basically the data that we are collecting, we first analyze here in Germany. And then to see how the children actually develop. Is there a difference? Is there an impact as we've defined it before? If so, we are always talking with our partner and are telling them about the results of the survey, even if it's a bad outcome, and for example there was none actual development of certain children. And yeah, if it works well and we see that we have impact with the amount of vegetables that is eaten, we of course always want to target an expansion with a partner. We are focusing on the human development and the human impact, but concerning the environment, as we said, with aquaponics we can save up to 90% of the water, and per day there are flowing up to 400 liters of water through our aquaponics system, and actually exactly these 400 liters of water that we are saving.
And additionally, of course, we save food miles because a lot of vegetables are imported from oftentimes China, and this is also something we save, and also we can just calculate that by looking what kind of supply chains do not have to be there anymore because of our systems.
Since the early phases of the project, social impact measurement has been elementary for efficient. Working on a global level and a highly scalable model, this case shows the full extent of what impact measurement can bring to the table. Not only is it a device to keep track of your social impact, but it also allows you to make better informed decisions to optimize your operations. Our interviews showed that especially for small, newly founded social entrepreneur projects, having implemented an elaborate social impact measurement is still far from being the norm. Oftentimes, these projects seem to focus more on qualitative feedback coming directly from their customers and collaborators. That might not necessarily be a bad thing though, as especially in the early phases, focusing the limited manpower and working out an effective impact value chain might make a lot of sense. As projects grow in size and scope though, the advantages of engaging in social impact measurement become increasingly apparent. Not only can it enable you to control your impact in a formulated manner, but it can also serve as a basis for setting goals and making changes to your business model, allowing you to maximize your impact on society. For our final interview, we decided to consult with 2 experts, asking them for their opinion on the current state of social impact measurement in the social entrepreneur scene. Michael Wunsch and Birgit Heilig are managers of the Social Impact Lab Frankfurt. In the lab, social entrepreneurs receive business advice and startup support in terms of consulting and qualification offers. In their time at the Impact Lab, Wunsch and Heilig were able to gain interesting insights into the challenges and opportunities arising from social impact measurement, which they were happy to share in our interview.
If you start a social startup, you usually don't have only the business model, but you also have the impact model. You go on 2 ways at the same time. And for the business model, it's quite clear you have your KPIs, you have the milestones, the economical success in one way. But if you're doing a social startup, you really want to change the world and make it a better place, to say it all over, at least in a special in a certain area, and even if it's only locally, as in Mannheim, as you said, with the Unverpacktladen maybe. But still, you want to do something, you want to change something, you have a plan. And how can you measure that plan? How can you assure yourself that you're successful with what you're doing if you don't measure it? So that's actually, it's a question of integrity as well, and credibility as well. If you say I'm a social startup, I want to change something. Okay, so how do you change it? And after 2 years, so what have you changed so far? So it's also a matter of proof of concept in a certain way in the impact area, And in regard also to get financial investors, maybe you also can prove, okay, you can say economically we have done that and that, our KPIs look like that and that, numbers are fine. And on the impact side, we are really changing something, and that's why we need, for example, more investment to scale up and to improve and extend this impact as well. So in that part, it's definitely an advantage. You know Tom's Shoes? They're a social business, and they started with the one-to-one concept. So for each pair of shoes they sold here in Germany or Europe or wherever, they donated one pair of shoes for some development countries. And they thought like, oh, that's a great idea to give people free shoes. And after a while, they did some research on how is this impacting actually locally, and it proved that it destroyed the local markets for the local shoemakers. So it even had a worse impact than expected, even they were trying to do something good. And according to that, they have changed their model. So if you wouldn't measure that, you would think you do something good, and you turn a situation into the worse actually without knowing it. So it's also a question of responsibility.
So if you just start out as a startup, you will probably not do a social impact measurement to the full extent. What you do is you try to find the impact that you want to create, and then to find easy indicators, indicators that are easily proven, that do not cost a lot to measure. And later on, when you are beginning to become a bigger organization, then of course you implement a social impact measurement to the full extent. Why do we talk about social impact measurement as something so special? It should be completely normal to look at what your effects are on society and on other people, as individuals and as organizations. It should be a completely normal part of your controlling.
During our research, we learned a lot about not only the advantages and difficulties of implementing social impact measurement, but also about the struggles social entrepreneurs projects have to face every single day. It is far from easy to build a successful business from the ground up, while also keeping in mind all the positive and negative externalities you have on society. But looking at the founders and experts we had the pleasure to meet, we are a lot more confident that we might just be able to tackle all the problems the food industry is facing right now, if more people follow in their footsteps.